So hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to, as usual, another Project Cars 2 video. Well, in today's video we're going to be looking at the community event and specifically really this Logitech challenge that's currently being held through the community event, and just how much we can change using the default setups. So just because this is a default setup challenge competition, it doesn't mean that you're limited really to just using the default setups. And you're probably wondering, if you're struggling to hit any of the faster times, just how these guys are being able to do it. Not that the fact that they've got a huge amount of skill to be where they are. And the first week of the challenge was at Indianapolis, I believe. Yeah, Indianapolis GP circuit, and the lap times there were phenomenal. I managed to get into 17th position myself, along with Pro Stig there, another fellow FRP member, or FPR, sorry. But yeah, it goes on to currently at Monaco, then Sugo, Willow Springs, and then moving on to the Nürburgring in week 5. And then lastly, Zahir, and I can never understand which one that is. But anyway, let's move into having a look at the default setups and just what sort of selections you need to be thinking about. So looking at the settings there's always the option of loose and stable. Now loose is always going to be the fastest option, and it's always going to be probably the hardest to control. The stable setup will usually offer a huge amount of understeer, whereas the loose setup just seems a little bit more willing to manoeuvre better, so to speak. But one of the things you're going to need to do, in my opinion, if you are using a wheel, and you do use something like myself using a GT3 wheel, as standard this is how I would use the wheel in its 50 setting, and I would adjust the steering ratio within the car setup itself in order to reduce the steering ratio. But you can't do that, so I do this in the steering sensitivity, so the as much as I turn, it turns a little bit more than a standard turn. Another thing you're going to want to do is adjust the brake balance on the go. This is going to really benefit how you attack certain corners and how you change the balance of the car in general. And I'd certainly recommend having this on your wheel, or probably on your controller if you use a control pad, but definitely going to be something that you're going to need to operate whilst you're driving the car itself. Some of the other things that you might want to look at as well is adjusting traction control and ABS. Now most cars, once they're using traction control, will really limit the amount of acceleration that you're going to get out of corners, and using the ABS, if you don't use that, you're going to be prone to locking up really if you're going attacking on in the braking zones really. So having ABS will just give you that ability to turn the car while still braking. Now we're just going to do a little test here. You would never really set the car up like this at all, but just to try and emphasize the difference between adjusting the brake balance and not adjusting it, or the sort of the effects that you're going to get by adjusting the brake balance. So we've gone all the way to the rear here, and usually I would suggest staying around the 50 mark, but just notice just how much rear end locking you get in that scenario. So it's just like riding a mountain bike and pulling on the brake, the back brake. It's just going to swing the back end of the car around. And using the very opposite, we're going to go all the way to the front, and it's just, this is the effect that it's going to have, is going to really just stop you from turning the car really. The front wheels are going to be under so much pressure with the brakes, there's just going to be no ability to get the car to turn in. So by adjusting the brake balance, we can start to manipulate how the car turns, and as you can see, we're head on in this collision rather than going in at the rear. So you're going to want to find a balance here as you attack different corners as to how the car changes its characteristics. So as you approach some corners, just try adding a little bit more brake towards the rear. Definitely around this section, I find But I think around the 50 mark, and I'll show you a few key areas during my fast lap. So just racing here against THR Abraham's Ghost, and you can see he just gets a phenomenal run through that first corner. Time and time again I've tried that and just cannot get anywhere near his time. I do choose to stay a much tighter line through that corner, and I do think it's a little bit faster than him going a little bit wide. He does try and avoid the little bump there, and I think turning down into this corner, this is where I start to lose lap time, just getting through this, the tight hairpin there and then through here, but it does set a phenomenal lap. I think one of the issues that I'm finding with the in-car view, and I have seen quite a few fast people using like the overhead view, like sort of top down, I forget what it's called, it's like not hood cam, but something like that. But yeah, through there, you're definitely going to want to bring the balance towards the front of the car, because the rear end's just too unloaded, and you start to get issues with the rear end wanting to come round. And then through this next section, I do tend to prefer around 50 to 49 at the rear. Just seems to get the car to turn a little bit better. But yeah, it's a phenomenal lap. It really is tough to get the car set up or the brake balance right and just get that perfect line and try and get it nailed together. That wasn't my fastest lap, just a few thousandths faster, but currently sat in 12th position on the leaderboards. I'll leave you with the replay, but yeah, that's default setups. There are a few things that you can adjust, brake balancers, traction control, ABS, and even if you are in some lobbies where people choose to run traction control, you might also find that you are able to go in and put soft tyres on, which could be a help. But here at Monaco, it's about 120 degrees Fahrenheit, so the hard tyre wouldn't, the soft tyre wouldn't particularly offer a huge amount more grip than the hard tyre, so it's not really an issue, and it's not possible to do either. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you found this useful. Hopefully it benefits you during the rest of the challenge, or if it helps you during other default races. Thanks for watching as always, and ciao for now.